Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up before we start this episode. There's a lot of screen sharing, a lot of visuals as we run through the First 11 platform, so it might be one that's better for YouTube. So I've put the link to the YouTube episode in the show notes, but let's get going. Hello everybody and welcome to this bonus episode of the AI in Football podcast, Recruitment Decisions Done Properly. I'm Tom Butterfield, I'm your host. Sorry, I've been thrown by the whole bonus episode thing. But let me welcome our resident guest as well. He's a certified data analyst. He's a scout, FO licensed coach and FIFA licensed agent. It's David Bromley. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Tom. Thanks very much. Yeah, I was
better than my
intro.
As well. I was a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights there.
Yeah, well, it's good. Everybody knows it's, we're not just recording it and playing out the same old thing every week.
Exactly. Never look for perfection, mate. Never look for perfection. Just do your best, and that's all you can do. So,
go along with that.
So, David, today we were having a little chat, weren't we, after recording the last podcast, and we said, maybe it's time. We've done a lot talking about the process of First 11, and we thought, actually, let's take it for a spin. It's like having a nice shiny car in the garage, isn't it? It's tempting, and you just want to throw the garage door open and take it for a spin. So we thought we'd give that a go today, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's nice and shiny. I've made quite a few little changes.
Still got the cover on it.
Yeah, and this is the thing, when you change things around. I mean, they've been interesting. Our discussions, haven't they, over the last few episodes, I think, have been interesting. And we've introduced sort of some more, if you like, a little bit more process to the process. And so we're trying to make sure that if you opened up First 11, as you said earlier, and you sort of worked your way through it, the things we've been talking about, the terminology we've been using and things like that, are all going to be reflected in there. So you're not going to come up against anything and go, well, they talked a lot about these things and I can't see any of those things. Yeah. So it's a bit of it's a work in progress. I haven't really changed the fundamental approach. It's a workflow. It keeps you sort of consistent. But I'm just hoping, because this is pretty much the first time that we've given it a live spin. So I'm hoping that, well, whatever happens, I think it's going to be an interesting.
That's it. It's all feedback. It's exercise. All data, isn't it? It's going to be good. So what we thought we'd do is we would hone in on one particular team and one particular situation. Now, with me being a bit of a Spurs enthusiast, you could say, and a team that does have some issues, especially with injuries, and perhaps I'm sure that Tottenham fans and maybe football fans will understand that maybe the recruitment decisions they've made all the time have been questioned at times, and I'm sure time will tell whether they're good ones or not. So we thought we'd hone in on Tottenham and look to try and solve the puzzle of obviously very, very good player, bit of a Spurs legend, Heung-Min Son leaving last season, moving out to LAFC. But that left a huge, huge gap on the left-hand side in that attacking slot. So we thought we'd try and go through the process, or start going through the process, and find a replacement, didn't we, David?
Yeah, and you're I've described you as the sort of Spurs specific, team specific oracle on this. I'm more just going to play the role of the process man, I think, your wingman here. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, we all know what player he was, and he's always going to be a difficult one to replace, isn't there? Somebody
for sure.
Making a contribution like that. But yeah, we're going to have a go, aren't we, and see what we come up with. And see, this is an indicator of the way that AI can support you in your recruitment work. But in saying that, you don't have to take everything that it comes up with. You can say, no, that's rubbish, or I'd change that slightly, and you can do your own thing. But it's a nice little sort of assistant to have. And here's the crucial thing, Tom, as well, is the more you sort of play it back, the changes you've made and the observations that you've made about the suggestions that come from the AI assistant, the more closely it's going to deliver you back in the future stuff that you want. That's the hope, and that's the plan, is that you'll be training it as you go. So, and at first, it's had no training in this particular particular venture, is it? The Spurs
No,
way
exactly.
of playing and so on. So we don't know. We'll see what we make of it, really. You
Absolutely.
can tell me how good it is.
No, good stuff. Great stuff. So where are we starting, Dave? We talked about we're going to choose Tottenham. We're going to try and replace Heung-Min Son. So take us through our first steps here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to the first step is me trying to share my screen, I think, so that we can you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to try and do that now. And you might want to, I don't know if you want to probably edit some of this out, but let's just see what I've come up with, Tom. We've had fun and games before with Riverside, haven't we?
We have.
Let's see, share the screen. What happens here? Allow that. Window.
We usually get some sort of infinite screen thing, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, that looks encouraging.
I don't know what you've got there. So I can probably
I've
close
got your
this bit down.
There you go. So I've got first 11 up there now.
Okay.
With background.
First 11, and you've got a little bit of a document on the left on one side,
that's right.
haven't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that's really the reason I've got that there. I mean, can you see that all right? Is that sort of workable as it stands? Is I can make it bigger, or how does that look?
See, try and make it a bit bigger for now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what I can probably do is, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so the reason I've got this extra document is this is the document that we're going to work through the AI sort of proposals, stroke suggestions. So rather than sit here and watch me type at sort of 5 words a minute, we can maybe,
index
if we
fingers.
like it, we can paste some stuff straight in.
Yeah.
But this is the first part of first 11. So you're looking at the stage 1, and this is slightly. Well, you don't have to worry too much about it. The stages are the 11 stages in first 11, right? Now, the steps, and I could change this sort of terminology at some point. The steps, if you can see these on the left-hand side, there's 8 steps. They relate to this chain that we talked about in the last couple of episodes. So you don't need to worry about that, really. But in case anybody's looking and worrying about, well, hang on, what's a step and what's a stage? That's what they are. But they're all sort of coherent, hopefully. So the first thing we're going to do, Tom, is we're going to decide on what is the actual objective of this job. You know, what's our decision objective, and it's what we call really a recruitment mission. So we can put in there now. The AI is saying, and I'll read this out. In answer to the question, what decision are we making? Identify and shortlist a replacement for Son. His left-sided attacking role at Spurs, in brackets, a left attacking midfielder, stroke forward, in a 3-4-2-1 formation, prioritising box threat, pressing, and half-space link play. Yeah. So that's a sort of suggestion to get you started. Now, we can either put that in, we can either accept that, or we can make a change if we don't agree with any of it. I think you were talking about the formation.
Yeah, the formation, I would say for most of the season, and of course this might have changed due to personnel not being available, or maybe just non-performance, in games. Yeah. Generally, I think they've played with a back 4. They've tended to play with Van der Ven and Romero as centre-backs, and then either Porro on the right generally, or Spence on the right. And then either Udogie or Spence on the left. So they've tended to play a back 4, but they may well have changed that because Danso's generally done quite well when he's come in, and they've seemed a little bit more solid when they've played him. So perhaps they are going to move more too, because I think this data is sort of coming more from the last 2 games, isn't it? From Manchester City and from Burnley.
I think it's picked it up from there.
Yeah, so it could well be that, but I think it's interesting. If the formation is correct or it isn't correct, I still think it's quite an interesting process because you've got the likes of Xavi Simons there who would probably be sitting in that left-sided attacking role. So it'd be interesting to see if he does indeed fit what's required from that spot.
We can either put it in here as it says, right, like this. You'll notice I've just popped it in. We could change this formation here if you wanted. If you said, look, I feel happier with some slightly different formation in there,
Hmm.
or we can leave it in there and say, look, what does it come up with if we try it this way? And then we could always go back and have another run at the mission, but making some changes.
Yeah, for
whatever
sure.
you feel most comfortable with, really.
Well, I think they'd be quite interesting because I think you're looking at the guys who are on the treatment table at the moment. You've got James Maddison, who's a long time absentee. You've got Kulusevski's a long absentee. Kudus is out as well. So
yeah,
it would be interesting to see, because I think certainly Spurs are weaker, I would say, as in the central striker role. They've probably got Solanke, then you've got Richarlison there. I think there's a bit of a drop off from Solanke to Richarlison. So I think they've got so many attacking options there now with Xavi Simons, Kulusevski, Maddison, Kudus. It's a tricky one. Do you put them in as a three? But are any of them really true wide attackers? I'm not quite so sure if they are. And maybe that's why they were looking at the likes of Semenyo to try and get that bit of pace and direct sort of attacking threat from wide. I'm not sure, but I think for today it would be interesting to stick with this, because this could well be a trend that Spurs are going to stick with, and maybe this is a recipe that they're going to go with from now on. They see this as being stronger. So I think we'll stick with the 3-4-2-1, because that's interesting. I think that's quite fresh for a lot of people, and then we'll just push ahead from there.
Right, so 2 10s behind the central forward, really, probably, and then would stop. I'm just wondering, and we don't need to spend ages on this, but I'm wondering if the Son replacement, would they be the left side of the 4, or would you be putting them in as a left-sided 10?
It's a good question. I would think that the left side of the 4 would probably be one of Udogie or Spence. I would have thought, because they've got them there, and
more of a sort of primarily defensive-minded player than a
and to be honest with you, I don't even really consider either of them particularly defensive-minded. I don't think they're the best of. I think they're quite good one-on-one because of their pace, but I do feel that they switch off a little bit. So I think go with that left-sided attacking 10.
Let's go with that. Okay, cool. Let's go with that then. So a quick look back at the proposal then. The priority level, it's saying a high priority and the timeline summer 26 transfer window. So let's go with that. Let's call it high priority and summer transfer window. Okay, that's straightforward. So now it moves us on to these identity anchors. So we're still in stage 1 and step 1, if you like. So these identity anchors, you might remember, if you've listened to previous episodes, we've been talking about these. So it's making some suggestions here. We can put these in there. I think you talked a little bit about these. It's talking about 4 identity anchors, non-negotiables, if you like. So high intensity without the ball, aggressive front foot mentality, in other words, pressing to win it back, attacking with pace and purpose, don't become just this sterile possession-based team, and threaten the box with runners from the second line. I think you said you thought that wasn't far off.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's what they're sort of missing is really that front foot mentality. I think at times it's been a bit too slow, and I think the second half against Manchester City, we started to, put it simply, run forward and pass forwards, and that seemed to get Manchester City into some bother, basically.
Okay, so if we were to say, so here's some this. Okay, so I knew we were going to come across some of these things. So in first 11, we've got some sort of selectable things in here for non-negotiables. So as it stands at the moment, rather than us entering in what we want, it's saying to us, what's the closest to some of the things that I'm offering you that you would actually want? We've got a high intensity option in there, so we can put that in there. Yeah. Aggressive front foot mentality. We're looking at threaten space quickly in transition. Would you say that was one of the closest
that
ones?
Would be good.
Okay. probably, there's at the moment as it stands, and obviously we can change all of this, but they're probably the two main ones, are they, that describe what we've looked at the most
I would say
closely.
so.
Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Now, what we can do, in addition to that, because you might be feeling a bit fed up that we can't put in those things, we can put in identity notes if we want. And what it's saying here is we want a left-sided attacker who behaves like a forward when we attack, i.e. arrives in the box, attacks the blind side and finishes moves, but behaves like a 10 when we build, potentially, receiving in the ball in the half space, playing the next pass, combining with the wing backs and the centre forward. Out of possession has got to be a reliable pressure who sets the tone.
Yeah,
so,
I like that.
Again, if you like that, we can go with that. If there's bits of it that you think actually like to add a bit or take a bit away, we can easily do it. I'll pop it in there, but I don't know what you...
Yeah, I like that.
So basically what we've got in these identity anchors, Tom, is we've got a high intensity, I think that said without the ball, didn't it? And threatening space. So, yeah. So we've got those two in there, and then we've explained ourselves in a little bit more detail in this next note section. So that's what we've put in. Are we happy with that? That sort of
I'm happy with that.
Represents what we're interested in. And just as a sort of side note, any of this can be changed and we can add some more different options in there. But at the moment, we're just trying to sort of show the process. So that leads us on to the constraints section. And we've called these hard constraints, which are the sort of must-haves. And then we've got trade-offs and priorities, which, again, you might remember us talking a lot about in the last couple of episodes of the pod. So in the hard constraints, in other words, in the must-haves, we've got they can play as a left-sided 10 or inside forward in a 3-4-2-1, as I think we set it up. Or they could play as a left winger who can come inside. But they must contribute a real goal threat, shots and box touches and finishing. And they must be willing and able to press and counter-press. Yeah,
I think that's pretty much spot on, I think.
Okie dokie. Put those in there. And then the trade-offs and priorities. Priority order number 1, goal threat from the left half space. Number 2, pressing reliability. Number 3, link playing combinations. Number 4, ball carrying and destabilising blocks. We can trade elite 1v1 wing play if the player consistently arrives in scoring zones and can combine centrally. So there's a bit of a sort of, there's a priority rating there, but there's also a sort of, well, look, if they're not perfect at this, we could live with it because if we've got the other things, which is what we sort of talked about.
I think what I like about this here, David, is in my mind, I'm thinking of Xavi Simons, who's in the Spurs squad and starts sort of regularly. And these are the things that I would like to be seeing from him coming from that space, because this is the area of the pitch that he likes to be in. He likes to sort of be slightly left side but drift in. I think that's where he does a lot of his damage. But would you really say that he was a goal threat from the left half space? I'm not sure whether you would. Is he the strongest presser? I think that's to be confirmed, to be honest with you. Link play combinations, I think that's probably his strength. And ball carrying to destabilise blocks, I think he's very good at that as well. So that's good. I think we're looking at things that we're looking at players in the right sort of things, and it'd be good to see if Xavi Simons actually comes up on our final list eventually as being one of the best fits, or maybe he's just a good player but doesn't quite fit the system.
Right. Okay. That's makes sense. The last part of this section is the output preference, which is just saying, look, what do you want me to give you back? I mean, in the options here, it's suggesting, an 8 to 12 player shortlist plus the top 3, or it's suggesting all sorts of different things here. I think we would tend to say, look, we're after a shortlist really here. Yeah, we could go with a shortlist and one player one page profiles. I mean, we could set up whatever we like. We could go for a video scout brief, what the video scout's got to check, a target matrix ready recommendation, which is probably pushing our luck a bit, or we can customize our own. But how about we just select shortlist and plus one page profiles?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm happy with that.
Okay. So basically now we've said, right, we've done this section. We're going to confirm our objective and continue on. And it should play it back to us, really, what our objective is, our priority level, the timeline, something about the identity and the hard constraints and the trade-offs, etc. Yep. So if we're happy with all that, we just continue to the next stage, which is this stage 2 identity and game model, which, again, we talked about a lot in the last episode, didn't we?
Yes.
Last week.
Yeah, we did.
And this is where... So, look, the first thing it's asking us is... First thing we can do about this is... This is a little bit at the top, just telling you where you are in the stages, playing back to you what you've done so far. Now, we can... The old version of this said you could have a meeting and you can record it and you can upload the audio file, or you can just type into this text box what the meeting summary was, and it's going to analyse it and it's going to take you on to the stage that we're going to talk about. Well, in this particular case, I've got some meeting analysis text here rather than us sit and try and decide what we said.
Yep.
So we could say this again.
Yeah.
One we made earlier. Spurs are shifting towards a 3-4-2-1 with 2 narrow attackers behind the 9. We want to be aggressive without the ball, pressing and counter-pressing, and purposeful with the ball, progress quickly once we fix the opponent. The left-sided attacker must operate in the left half space, join the striker line in the box, and still connect play and build up. The role is a forward/10 hybrid, scoring, arriving, pressing, and combining. So if we think that's pretty likely to have been the outcome of a meeting we'd have had, we can put that in here.
Yeah.
Or we can put the real, we could put the real. So if we say, like, right, we'll do that. So we've done that. And now it's going to analyse that a bit. And it's done it. And it's going to say, well, I think I sort of know what you said. And now what it's going to do, Tom, is we've reached that point where we're starting to talk about the templates that we covered, I think 2 episodes ago. And the reason for these, so it's going to try and find a coach's style that most closely matches the things that we've said we want to do. And it's going to offer us some. So we can select from a drop-down list a number of, we've got some in here. Now, we can add as many as we like in here. The AI is suggesting that Gasparini's back 3 aggressive and rotation style seems to be the most appropriate one. Again, we can accept that, or we can say, no, we like something different. But if I wouldn't know whether in this particular case, I don't really know enough about Spurs to know whether to want to change anything. But you might say, no, actually, I think it's more like a Conte style, or a Rangnick style or something.
It's a tricky one because probably not many people know much about it. If they are indeed switching to a 3-4-2-1, and this is a new thing going forwards for them, then I think it's going to be fairly fresh for everyone. So I think certainly, a back 3 with rotations there, I think that would be good. And of course, we're looking to be aggressive. We're looking to be on the front foot. So that would seem like a pretty good fit if indeed that is the direction that Spurs are looking to move in.
All right. Well, let's, for the sake of moving ahead and not getting bogged down on this stage, we'll do that. You might be thinking, I thought I might mention this, Tom. You might be thinking, if you're listening or watching this, oh, hang on a minute, you're giving it an awful lot of information. Is it really going to be using all of this when it starts looking at players and ranking them? Well, that's a good question. And the answer is probably not all of it, because some of it is stuff we would like to use if we had the right information. So I've got to be honest with you. I've tried to design this to be sort of forwards compatible with the sort of the developments in AI and the developments in data collection and such forth. So I've tried to say, look, give me what we'd like to do and do your best with it. But as I say, and I'm getting the feeling now, really, are you really going to be able to do all this stuff? And the answer is probably not perfectly. But it's better to give it what you'd like and say, well, we can't do all of it, than only give it something really basic. And then when something else comes along, some development is made and we could use it, and we haven't got the opportunity. So If that makes sense, that's my
sounds good to me. Yeah,
we're going to accept that Gasparini, and then we've got some variants. We talked about variants, so we've talked about the main identity template being this back three aggressive with rotations, but the variants we can put in there. We can make it more direct. In this particular case, we can either accept the default rotations, or we could make that more direct if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for different templates, there'll be a couple of different variants that would be appropriate to that template. So if you said, I'd like that one, but I want to be a bit more direct, we could do that now if we wanted to, or we could leave it as the default.
I think leave it at the default for now.
Should we leave it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I mean, we're covering so much ground so quickly that we don't want to try and spend too long. Okay, so formation 3-4-2-1. It's playing that back to us. That's the one.
It's given us a 3-4-1-2 there.
It has. Well spotted. We've changed that. Right. So confirm the template selection. So part C is team behaviours by phase. You'll remember if you listened to last week, I believe, that we talked about these 4 phases: the in-possession phase, the out-of-possession phase, the transition to attack, and the transition to defence. So now we've got the chance to say, give us some information about what we do in each of these phases. Now, I've, again, got some that were prepared earlier by AI, and it's saying, in the in-possession phase, it's got 3 for it. Well, it's got 3 for 2 of them, 2 phases, and 2 for the other 2. The first bullet point for it, the in-possession phase, is build to fix the opponent and then speed up through the inside 10s half-space progression. The second one is create a front 5. Wing-backs provide width and the 2 10s occupy half spaces. The 9 pins the centre-backs. And the third one is left 10 attacks the box as a second striker when the ball goes wide and arrives at the far post or in a cutback zone. So, if we like that, again, we can put our own in here, but for the sake of sort of speed and trying to get somewhere, we could accept them, or we could accept a couple of them, or I don't know. I think
my particular favourite is there in the in-possession one there, create a front 5 with the wing backs providing width. The 2 10s occupy half spaces and the 9 pins are centre backs. I think that's spot on. That's thinking about this formation. I've never played this formation myself, but that's how I'm viewing it. Is those wide midfielders pushing up and really trying to create overloads in those areas. So I like that. And yes, I would want the left 10 to attack the box as that second striker. You need players in the box, and that's going to be our goal threat. In that spot, so I like that. Yeah, they're good. All 3 of those.
We take those 2 then, should we?
Okay. I think out of the 3, I would say number 2 and number 3 would be my favourites. And the first one,
right?
I guess so. That would be a bit more of a slower build up, I suppose, and then speed up as you cross the halfway line, I suppose. Let's keep the second and third ones for now.
Let's keep those. Okay. Right, we'll do that. So I'm going to put those in there. Okay. I mean, it's populated these already. So, I mean, what it put in there is a balanced approach. I don't know whether these are... I'm trying to think back to how I specified it. Balanced approach, mixed build-up with direct. No, I think we'll put ours in there. Okay, so... those 2, did we say, didn't we? Right, let's go with those ones then. All right. The out of possession ones, we've got press from the front with clear triggers. So in other words, when there's a bad touch or a backwards pass or a wide opponent receiving the ball wide but facing their own goal, that could be one of the triggers. They could be the triggers. Force play wide, lock the ball inside and hunt regains to create short field attacks is the second one. And the third one is, if the press is beaten, drop into a compact 5-4-1 or 5-2-3 spacing quickly, protecting the centre first. Yeah. So again, these are our suggested, but we don't have to take any of them or all of them or what we want to do.
Yeah, gotcha.
I don't know what you feel about that.
Let's have a look at that.
We're out of possession.
I like force play wide, lock the ball lock the ball side, and hump regains, create short field attacks. I like that. Press from the front with clear triggers. Yep, I'm on board with that one. Yeah, I'm thinking what's the best way for that to, if the press is beaten, to get that fullback. So you can have the 3 centre backs. You've got the 2 wide midfielders / fullbacks there, so they drop into your 5. That leaves a 2. So you're looking to get your 2 10s to come back. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Take all 3 of them.
Yeah. I guess my only thing about the third one would be is, does that potentially make it difficult for you to get out? I suppose, but then that can happen to any team, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can lose it if you prefer to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, I think
it's fairly small beer at this stage, probably.
I think that's fairly standard. I think if the press is beaten, then you are just going to drop back into a fairly compact shape. That's what I would want my team to do. Protecting the centre first. Yeah, let's stick with that for now.
Let's stick with it. Okay, then. So now we've got transition to attack. In other words, as soon as we regain possession, there's a couple of suggestions in there. First look is vertical into the half space, 10s or into the 9's feet to set a runner.
Yeah.
And the second one is the left 10 makes an immediate blindside run beyond the fullback / centre back channel when the regain's secured. So when you win it back, there are a couple of things you might want to happen.
I'm happy with both of those. Yeah, I'm happy with both of those.
Cool. Okay, hopefully you see by now that, put your own things in, or we just wanted to do this because we didn't want to be sitting here sort of, pontificating for half an hour on each one.
We can do that when we
getting fed up.
maybe we can do the full experience with we can invite some listeners to come along and do that with us, and we can just sit there for half a day or something and actually do it fully. But in this we just want to run through the process and see how it flies, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the final one is the transition to defence. So you just lost the ball. So the first one it's suggesting is you might have a 5 to 6 second counter press mid-set, swarming the ball carrier, stopping the first pass forward. And then you might, if the counter press fails, then your tactical recovery run to protect the central lane and delay the opponent's sort of progress.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I mean, they're relatively sensible, I guess.
Yeah.
So we might say, well, we'll take those.
Yeah.
So I'll pop those in here. And I hope that getting rid of these bullet points is going to help us. I think it probably will. Okay, so the proof behaviours. So again, we talked about these. So if any of this is a bit sort of coming to you a bit weird, you can go back and listen to last week's episode. And we talked about what we've just run through, and we talked about proof behaviours. So, in these behaviours are, when you're in possession, what we're being offered here is the left 10 consistently arrives in the cutback zones as the second striker. So this is a way you can prove that you're doing what you say you want to do.
Yes.
And the evidence for that would be high box touches and shots per 90.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a little bit of a. We don't have to put these in, Tom, if we don't want to, but we can add some of these in there. So as we got them, why don't we just again?
Yeah, definitely. I like that one because that's given us the goal threat that we're looking for from that position. And could we also put in there something like high number of touches in zone 14 or something like that? Does it know
we
zone
could
14?
Do that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so the zone 14, if you're not familiar with it, is this zone just outside your opponent's penalty area that has traditionally come to be something that a lot of coaches have really wanted to dominate because a lot of chances get created from there. As it stands, the data we're going to use in this particular case from Y-Scout, I don't think it's going to give us any indicator of that. So I don't think it's going to really do it. It would certainly be a sensible thing to do, and you may well be able to get data that does give you those things, in which case, absolutely, it's a good example of how you'd use that. So the out of possession, proofs and evidence is the frontline presser who forces rushed passes. The evidence is defensive actions in the attacking or middle third, duels, interceptions, recoveries could be a proxy for those things.
Yeah.
So again, out of possession, we'll put them in there. And I think even some of these, Tom, we're not probably going to have enough information to really do a perfect job with it, but we'll put them in anyway.
That sounds good.
So
sounds good.
Actually, what I should have done is the behaviour statement goes in there. Let me take this out. And the evidence part of that goes in here.
Gotcha.
So we're saying that's the proof. That's how you know whether you're doing it or not. And this is the evidence.
Yeah.
So I would say I probably don't need that word evidence.
So we've got our behaviour statement. Left 10 consistently arrives in for cutback zones, a second striker, and the evidence of that behaviour is high box touches and shots per 90. Yeah, I like that. That's good. And that was in possession.
Okay. So we're putting this in. Yeah. And then the out of possession, we've got the proof is the frontline presser forcing rushed passes from the opponent. And the evidence of this is defensive actions in the attacking or middle third, duels, interceptions, recoveries are a proxy for that. It gets a bit, I mean, I can imagine people thinking, hang on a minute, really? Are you really going to be able to tell all this? And again, just in case you missed the comment I made earlier, it's not all going to be capable of being used in the final rankings of the players, but we're putting it in to show where we'd like to be getting to.
Yeah, really, it's at least being considered in the process, isn't it? You know, at least if it's being considered, and then if it can get it, it's like filtering, isn't it? You know, you start off with the information there. If you don't put this in, then it's got no chance of using it. Whereas if we do put it in there, then there is a chance that it may move the needle ever so slightly towards, one player being in or out of a shortlist, either way.
Exactly, and I think the future is going that way, where we are going to have these things. I'm just popping something into similar transition to attack and transition to defence. I'm just doing the same thing here. I'm taking the suggestions that it's made here, which are transition to attack. The proof of that, attacks depth immediately after regain. So when you get the ball, you're attacking the depth. In other words, you're trying to get the ball forward into sort of positions which are going to be uncomfortable for the opponent. And the evidence of that is progressive carries, runs and shots following carries. And then the transition to defence is going to be, the proof of that is your counter press contribution. And the evidence of that are going to be, again, recovery shortly after you lose the ball. Now, we don't have all of this data. I'm going to say that now in the data that we're going to use, but we're going to say, look, if we had it, this is what we want to be looking at. Yeah. So we'll confirm this, Tom. And that's your part C of your behaviours by phase.
Excellent.
And, okay, so then we've got, that takes us on to the stage 3, the behavioural role definition.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a lot going into this, you can see.
Absolutely.
We're doing a lot of work, aren't we?
And this is the thing, David. It's very important for people to realise that it's not just a question of looking at who scored goals and who's got assists. There should be a lot of things that go into a recruitment decision for a team, especially when you're looking to spend millions of pounds on a player that could potentially make the difference between you staying in a league or maybe even winning a league.
So nobody's mentioned any names yet, and nobody's intending to.
No, exactly.
Because how can we possibly put a name forward when we haven't decided how we play and how, and as we're coming into now, what the sort of role of that player would need to be in our system. So here we've got the behavioural roles. Again, we're being suggested here an inside forward, a goal threat, a half space 10, whatever we've got that's as close to that as we can. So again, we've got some archetypes in here. Now, we can select whichever one we think. I mean, there's an inside forward stroke goal threat. I would say that's pretty much what we're looking for, would you?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Now, do you want to have another look at some of those? You can see we've got players in all different roles. And again, we can add to these as well, Tom.
Yeah. No, I would say that's from the archetypes there. I think that fits best.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then the question is, why does this archetype fit our game model? So we've selected the archetype we want. The question is, why does this archetype fit our game model? So in other words, deciding on all the things we have when we're in possession, out of possession, etc., and the way we want to play, why have we selected this particular role archetype within that system? We don't have to put anything in there. If we think it's obvious or we've put enough information in already, or we just want to put something simple in there, we can do.
Personally,
so
I think this
is this stuff to go in.
Yeah, I think this is such an important position and probably the most difficult position to play in nowadays, because so many teams do sit in that mid to low blocks. And if you can have someone who can operate in there and create or become a goal threat, I think it's potentially game changing for a team, because it just unlocks a lot of things. So many teams you see pass around the shell that a team defensive shape gets. You see it coming to the centre backs, out to the fullbacks, out to the wide midfielder, who then comes back around again. It sort of goes like a half crescent, goes like a crescent shape all the way around. I think if you've got people who are confident and able to find space in those inside forward positions, I think it can create absolute havoc for opposition.
Opening up opportunities, unlocking defences, that kind of thing, really.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're really
definitely
talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm gabbling on about. Yeah.
To unlock defences and create chances. I mean, this is a bit bland maybe, but, that's where you're hoping a lot of your chance creation is going to come from. And when defences are defending in a very sort of compact way against you, you need that sort of something to unlock it. I mean, it's a bit bland, but I've put it in there anyway. It's asked me, so I'm going to tell it that.
Yeah.
But again, we would give that a lot of thought ordinarily, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So position rule requirements is the next one. So in this particular case, I think the closest one, we've got a left winger and we've got an attacking midfielder in there. I think what we've put in is so specific, really, that it's going to probably overwhelm whatever we put in here. But we could put. Yeah. How would you classify this one?
I would say this is more of an attacking midfielder position than a left winger, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And then we can give it some versatility by adding a secondary position. Do you want to add a left winger as
put left winger in there as well.
Or do you want to just leave it as where it is?
Let's put that secondary position in there as a left winger. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's what we've done. So it's a kind of hybrid attacking midfielder, left winger role. It would have offered us a suggestion if we'd asked for one, but we're not asking for one. It's done enough. Okay. Right. So actually, what I asked it to do earlier, it's come up with a left winger, an attacking midfielder, stroke striker as the secondary positions. So,
gotcha.
I don't know if how would you feel? Were you happier with what we put in there than that, or?
Yeah, I think so. From what we're looking to get, yeah. Let's just go with left winger and attacking midfielder.
Do you want to add striker in as another secondary?
I suppose that would add the goal.
You don't
want
to put striker in as another secondary. Well, because you mentioned goal threat.
Yeah, go on then. That'd be interesting, because that would increase the.
We'll put that in
goal threat. Yeah.
Okay. Being a secondary position, it's going to take slightly less, if you like, whatever it thinks a striker and a left winger are going to add is going to be slightly diluted over what the attacking midfielder adds, because we're saying that's your secondary position as opposed to your primary position. So when it does its kind of ranking, that's going to be the logic really that it's trying to use.
Gotcha.
So experience level, first team level, I think is first team ready. I think is pretty much obvious.
Yeah,
really,
we've got enough. We've got enough 18-year-olds in the team
rather than
we need a 26, 27-year-old in their prime. Thanks.
What about your physical requirements then, Tom? It's suggesting maybe explosive over the first 5 to 10 yards, repeat sprint capacity, durable for high intensity pressing, and powerful enough to ride contact when receiving the ball inside.
Yes.
So are you happy with that?
I think that would be ideal. I think that, again, I know we've not mentioned names, but with the one name in the Spurs team who I think could play in this position is Xavi Simons again, and he is explosive over the first 5 yards, especially his acceleration is excellent. Is he powerful enough to ride contact when receiving inside? Not so sure. Is he durable for high intensity pressing? Not sure yet. Repeat sprint capacity, probably. I think it's that's probably debatable as well. So there are some things that he does very well, but I do wonder whether we'll get some other interesting options on our shortlist. Okay. So yeah, I like that. Physical requirements.
The technical requirements, we'll take that then. We'll take that. So the technical requirements it's come up with are receiving the ball cleanly in tight half spaces, playing forward early, and able to combine 1-2s and third man runs, carries to commit defenders, and finishing at pace with minimal touches. I mean, it all sounds quite desirable to me. No,
so, absolutely. And the guy I mentioned does a lot of those very, very well. Maybe not so much the finishing side of it, but that's good. But that's the goal threat we're looking for, right?
It is. Right, so role behaviours by phase. So again, we can look at what do we want this player to be particularly contributing in those 4 phases. So we've talked about the team and what the team would do to be evidence that it was, and proof that it was doing what we say we want to do. And now we're saying, what about this role? What does this role add? So it suggests, the suggestions here are, in possession, the role would be contributing, receiving the ball in half spaces on the half turn, connecting to the 9 or the other 10 with forward first in 10. I think that's pretty consistent. Joining the box as the move develops, second striker timing, and attacks cutbacks across the 6-yard line. And then if isolated wide, drives inside to create shooting and passing advantage rather than recycling it safely. So
definitely.
You happy with them?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Delighted with those.
In possession, then we're going to go with those. I'm going to get rid of these little bullet points in case it throws a panic attack. Okay. Out of possession, we want this role to lead the press from the front left lane, close inside out to force the play wide and trap and count. Then we also want counter presses immediately after we lose the ball, committing to second effort runs. We're not looking for someone who's going to sort of jog into a recovery position.
Yeah. So no, definitely on board with those as well.
Sound okay to me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Possession. And right. When we transition to attack, in other words, we just win the ball back. So the first 3 steps are forward, either running behind or showing to receive between the lines. And if the 9 receives it to feet, spinning beyond for the first return pass or occupying the far post.
Definitely.
I mean, they seem okay, unless you disagree with them. Okay. And then finally, there's one when we lose the ball, transition into defence. Immediately squeeze on the nearest receiver. If bypass, sprint and recover central compactness. That seems to be in line with what we've been talking about.
Happy with that.
Doing, doesn't it? So that's where that is. Okay. And then we've got some specific role alerts, which are optional. So we've got non-negotiables and red flags, but we might as well put something in there because good old AI has suggested something for us.
Yeah, I think the red flags non-negotiable
is it must be a okay. Well, the non-negotiables it's saying must be a real goal threat and a reliable presser. Must be comfortable receiving the ball inside, not just touchline winger.
Yes, so definitely.
That sounds all right to me.
Because it's much easier.
The red flag.
To get the ball wide, isn't it? Much bit easier to get the ball wide. You want someone who is comfortable in those real difficult areas.
What do you think of the red flag? Can you see that?
Low off-ball intensity.
Intensity.
Yeah, needs constant. Yeah, to stay engaged. Definitely don't want someone who's going to just drift out the game. Yeah, they've got to do the defensive work. Yeah, can't be slow in the transition, waiting. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with all of those.
Right, I've popped those into the red flags then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right, well, that gets us, I think, through stage 3. We're going to confirm the role definition, and it'll play some stuff back to us. It's got a bit to process there, so it's just going to do its little bit of working out. Okay. So now it takes us into stage 4, which is this KPI suggestion. So obviously what you'll appreciate from this is every time it moves into another stage, it's got all the previous stages information to draw upon. So when it makes suggestions, they should be, sensible suggestions given what you've said in previous stages. Now, this is where we could spend ages, and I don't suggest we do, because again, it's something that we're just trying to really go through the process. But what this is really saying is, look, given what you've asked for, and it's playing back a lot of the stuff that we've said, this role has to be able to contribute. These are some key performance indicators which would appear to be the most important ones. And it's suggesting chance creation, link play, ball progression, pressing and discipline. And the key performance indicators for us are the combination of different metrics that we've put together to say these are sort of behaviours, that a player would exhibit. So good at creating chances, good at linking the play, good at progressing the ball, a strong presser, a disciplined player. You're not going to find data that gives you that, but you are going to be able to find data that you could combine to give you a sort of proxy for that.
Yeah.
And it also gives you these weightings, Tom. So it's saying, look, chance creation is the most important, a sort of 30% of it. 25% is link play, 20% is ball progression, 15% is pressing, and 10% is discipline. We could change these, but again, I don't think we should need to get into this at the moment. But I don't think any of that looks wildly
not egregiously wrong, is
line. I think it's pretty. No, I don't think so. So I would say we would confirm those KPIs. We could add some, I don't know. You might say
maybe finishing could be a thing to put in there.
Finishing, we could add that. Why don't we just do that? Why don't we add finishing? Okay, well, I'm going to put finishing in, and it's going to have a little look. And I think what it will do is it will say, right, well.
So so does that mean we need to adjust our weightings?
And then it's adjusted.
Okay.
Well,
gotcha.
it's done that. I was just looking at that. It's done it automatically for us. It's saying, look, I'm going to keep the same sort of proportions, but I'm going to suggest that finishing is in there at 10% or the same as discipline.
Yeah. No, that's good. I was going to say sort of 10% would be about right.
So with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Because it's offering wait for finishing. If you wanted to, you could slide it around and say, no, that's the most, and then it will readjust all the others to say we got 100% in total. But
perfect.
We're happy with that.
Yeah.
So we'll confirm that key performance indicator selection, and it's going to do a little bit of processing and take us to the next level, which is stage 5. This is what we call the evidence setup, and this is what we're saying. Look. For this particular brief, I mentioned how each of these KPIs is made up of different metrics. So in this particular case, for example, chance creation, the KPI of chance creation is made up of expected assists per 90, key passes per 90, and shot assists per 90. And that's they're weighted as well. So we could change some of these. I don't think we want to do that at the moment. They should be sensible, but if you wanted to, you could say, I want to add something or take something out or change the weighting. Yeah. But this is saying really, well, how do we get the data to tell us how good the player is at each of these key performance indicators or behaviours? And this is a little bit of just sort of technical, selections that we can make, but I'm happy to accept those if you are. So finishing metrics, goals, XG, non-penalty goals per 90. They're not ridiculous.
Just out of interest, David,
I think we should accept those. So these two, yeah.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying we were talking about the formation earlier, and Tottenham are about to kick off against Manchester United today, and they are in their setup, starting up with a 3-4-2-1. So that's interesting to see.
Are they right? It's probably good that we kept that then. Yeah, that's good.
And Simmons is playing in that
cool. Well,
that
we'll
left side
Tom.
Half space. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. We're going to confirm this metrics configuration then, which takes us finally. We get to the point where we might be dealing with some actual players. So like you said earlier, we've spent a long time, haven't we, setting this up, trying to give the system as much information as we can. So now what we would do, Tom, is we'd come out of here. The example we're going to use today, we're going to use Y-Scout. And this is without having selected any filters at all. So this is the 721,000 players that you've got details for. Now, again, we've asked AI to suggest some filters. So it's suggesting, you could, for position, you could go with left wingers, attacking midfielders, strikers. There's an age range in there. There's a number of minutes in the last 12 months. There's a league you might want to look at. There's all sorts of filters it's suggesting. I think what we should do is do our own filters at the moment. So here's what I suggest we might start out with. But tell me if you think not. If we look at the top 5 European leagues to begin with, and we say we want to use the last calendar year because it's going to give us a reasonable amount of data.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might only be 2 months into the season. You might want to not use just this season. And then we can select some positions on the pitch. Now, what I normally do is say, so you can see that just with the top 5 European leagues, that 721,000 players is now 3,148. So already we've sliced off a huge number of players by just selecting that. And we can run different ones. We could run one for the European leagues. We could run one for, some of the foreign leagues and so on. But let's just stick with this for the time being. And then when we select positions, I would suggest we might select, I hope you can see this all right, but we might select this sort of wide left position and the sort of more conventional wide left winger position there. Again, we could start selecting a 10. I mean, would you want to put in there this
I'd want to
position?
put that more central. Yeah, definitely.
Put that in there. And we can ask it to just filter. So having selected these 3 positions, the wide left midfield position, the left winger position, and the 10 position, we've got 958 players. If we want to say, look, we only want you to give us players whose primary positions are one of those 3 positions. So we don't want you to give us a player who, is a right back, but sometimes he plays as a 10. We could do that and ask it to do that, and that drops us down to 536. So I'm suggesting we'd do that. But we also want to set some other filters. So by setting some other filters, we might want an age filter. We might want a number of minutes in the last in this calendar year filter. We could select all sorts of filters, really. But I'm thinking at the moment, how about we just keep with those? Do we want to put some kind of market value filter on it? We'll see. So now we're down to 380 players, Tom. I'm thinking here we want a couple of hundred players in our sample.
Yeah.
So I don't know what age range you might say.
So what are we at the moment? We're open from, I would say, anything.
We're on 380 players.
I would say you probably, with Spurs' recruitment strategy, they wouldn't want anyone over the age of 30.
Okay, so if we drop that down to 30, we've got 340 players. I mean, but might they? I mean, would there be a lower age limit? Would they say, look, we don't want anybody too young? Would we want a 20-year-old? Lower age
let's
limit?
do that.
I don't know what that does. It only knocks 9 players out.
9 out.
So it doesn't do a lot. It cuts 9 out. Minutes on the field. Might we say they must have played at least 1,000 minutes in the last calendar year? See what that does?
Yeah, I'd say so.
That brings it down to 232. Would there be an upper price band on this?
I think so.
Spurs
I think there
say,
would be,
I
if we're being realistic.
There at 80 million euros.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What do you think? I mean,
I would be interested.
I would be
interested to keep Simmons in the. Yeah, I'd like to keep Simmons in the sample, to be honest, because I think that would be interesting to see. So maybe reduce the lower.
Well, let's not put a maximum limit on it then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's reduce the minimum.
Well, at the moment,
maybe
we're saying anybody can feature. However.
Yeah. Let's bring the minimum up to
increase the minimum.
What number's that to?
What?
Yeah. I would say up to $1 million.
That's $1 million
at least.
So that's saying, look, if they're valued, I suppose I ought to just clarify this. So if you're wondering about the sort of market value role, what role is it playing? Again, who knows what a player's market value is really? So we're using the transfer market stroke Y Scout market value just as a sort of very, very broad brush example, because really I don't know how you get a market value otherwise. So if you're saying sometimes in your search, look, we are a team in the Championship and we can only afford £2 million for a striker, you don't want 80, 90, £100 million strikers appearing in your sample. So it's a good way of just very, very broadly getting down to the right sort of playing field. But in this particular case, that's sensible, really. We've included more or less everybody except anybody who hasn't got a nominal value of at least €1 million in this case.
Yeah.
So that brings us down to 171 players, Tom, which isn't a bad number, really, to be looking at. So these are, just to recap, these are all players from the top 5 European leagues who play either a wide left position or a left wing position or a 10, between the ages of 20 and 30, who've played at least 1,000 minutes in the last 12 months and have a nominal value of at least $1 million, and there's no real upper limit because we want Simmons to appear. There we are. There's all our players.
Excellent. Everyone has got access to Y-Scout, haven't they, David? Everyone's got access to the data. So yes, everyone can have the same data, but of course, what do you do with it then? And this is what First 11 is all about, isn't it, David? Is trying to make a specific case so that you can then take that data and put it in and say, right, well, this is what you want. And the data is showing, and the data here has been sort of filtered out and showing you a selection of potential targets that are going to suit what you want best, not just guys that are sitting at the top like your Cole Palmers and your Xavi Simmons and those guys. I couldn't pronounce the Georgian guy at the very top of the list, so I decided to swerve that one. So it's just so important because this is the way to really use the data and get insights from it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you say, the data is there, and there are ways you can rank players, but this is trying to rank them with specific reference to the things that you say are important for your team and this role within your team, aren't they? So
absolutely.
I've imported this file of players, so you can see we've got 171 players now from this file we exported from Y-Scout, and we've got 115. In answer to your question, I don't know if you can see that, but we've got 115 columns, so we've got 115 different metrics for each player.
Gotcha. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So this is just
overwhelming, some might say.
Well, it is really. Yeah, well, it is. Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
All of this.
Nice one. So that would take us to the end of the first recruitment meeting, wouldn't it, David? Making sure that we've got all of our foundations in place and we understand exactly what it is we're looking for before we even start to entertain potential names of players.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, we've exported that file of players out and we've brought it into First 11. So we've got a sample of 171 players and 115 different metrics for each one. So the next thing we'll do, the next time round, is we'll actually have a look at that. Sure. So what it will have done in the next stage is it will have ranked those players, those 171 players, according to how well they fit our suggested requirements. up to now. And we said we want to get a shortlist out. So we'll get a shortlist out and we'll run through the process of, well, where do we go with that shortlist? What do we do next? And how do we scout those players? And how do we evaluate those players? Because we want to keep this thread, Tom, don't we?
Yes. Definitely.
We don't want to suddenly go out and start scouting them according to some other criteria. We want to keep the criteria really tight and the brief really tight when we do the scouting.
Definitely. No, that would be good fun. That would be, because this is the dirty work, really, isn't it? This is the stuff that's probably not considered by the average sort of football fan. Is they'll look and say, well, so-and-so scored loads of goals or so-and-so's got loads of assists. They must be the sort of creative midfielder that we want in those areas. But of course, there's so much. We've got our different game phases. We've got our in possession, out of possession, the transitions from defence to attack and attack to defence. All these different things that we need the players to do, because you're actually in possession for a very short amount of time in a game, aren't you? So there's so many different responsibilities you want our players to do. So it'd be very interesting to see what names are included. Is Xavi Simons going to be in our shortlist, who we think is the prime candidate for that current spot in the Spurs squad? And if not, that'll be interesting to see. Absolutely,
yeah. Good. Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be good. It's a bit like a cliffhanger. This, David, it's sort of an EastEnders cliffhanger here. We've built up to it, and what we're going to find. So thanks for joining us, everyone.
We need the drums. Yeah, Tom. Boom, boom.
That's right. Yeah, we'll get some. We'll see if we can find a drummer in the budget. We'll see if we can get that sorted. But thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope you enjoyed going through the process. Like we said, it is tricky and it is detailed. But these are the things that we need to do in order to get good insights and good results. So hopefully join us for next week when we go through the player shortlists. So we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.